Good evening. I'm John Bailey. This is People to be Heard, the program where people who have something to say have their say. And tonight, you've got Dan Welsh, Program Director of the Westchester Power Program for Sustainable Westchester, and he is here because Sustainable Westchester is in the news this week in White Plains, New York, USA, because, Dan, you released your new green energy rate and new green standard, green energy rate. Could you explain this big breakthrough?
Yeah, well, thanks first for having me back, and the timing is great because having completed this solicitation for the new contract for the 2019 term, we are obliged to get out in the communities and tell people about that. And we've been out doing meetings in all of the 20 Con Ed communities within this past month, really squeezing them in. So this is a great opportunity. Yes, we did finish the solicitation, and we are very happy with the results. We were a tad anxious about them because ultimately you're going out into the market and trying to get bids, and you don't know where they're going to come out. But we were lucky to obtain very good results for our residents and small businesses.
Right. And what can electricity consumers take from this lowering of the green energy rates? You had originally, your spokespeople said they thought it would be 8.2, but you got it even lower than that. The green rate is now 7.96 cents per kilowatt hour, guaranteed for 2 years, and the standard rate, any kind of energy, is 7.71 cents.
Right. No, again, we're very happy with that. To be accurate, the 8.2 was a target maximum. So when we go out for these bids, the municipal stakeholders need assurance that they're not going to get some wild number. So what we do is we do a whole analysis of all the historical utility rates, and we lock everybody in with a memorandum that says as long as we come in below the trailing average of the utility, we beat the utility in the past 12 months, then we're all committed to go forward. So the 8.2 or 8.26 was that trailing average target. But we fully expected and hoped we would come well below that, and we did. So the 7.96 is the actual result. But 7.96 is below our current rate of 8 cents.
Yes, which really astounded me because I thought it would go up because the price of oil has gone up and all that. And I was quite content to go up a little, but since I am a green power consumer, I am really looking forward to this windfall.
Yes.
Well, anyway, speaking of that, what does that mean for the consumer who takes the green rate?
I don't know how much we can read into it in terms of trends and all that. The markets are what they are. They're fickle, and I don't know that we have a crystal ball. But what it does tell us is it reinforces yet again the power of the consortium and the collective purchasing.
24 towns have combined their purchasing power to basically get, I guess, what you would call a wholesale rate.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. And the 24 number that you mentioned, we're happy to say, is up from the original launch, which was 20. So we've been taking on new communities who see how beneficial this is for their residents.
Now, right now, any day now, consumers watching this program can expect in White Plains and all the other towns a letter. Could you explain that letter will ask them to do?
Yes. Well, we are, again, obliged to keep the channels of communication open with the customers, with the residents and small businesses. And just as in the launch of the venture back in 2016, as we embark on a new contract, we have to do a mailing to every one of those residents to let them know what the conditions are of that contract, primarily price and the product that they can select from. So they will get that same kind of mailing. There'll be a 30-day opt-out period, but in this case, since they're already in, it's kind of pro forma. They can opt out at any time. They always could.
Yes.
But they'll get all the information about where to call to opt out, what the rates are, what the different products are. That'll be coming very shortly.
Hopefully in language they can understand, right?
Yeah, well, I will say that we have refined this letter a number of times because it's no matter how you cut it, you want it to connect with people and not seem like just some commercial
offering.
offering.
Number they can call with questions even before they get the letter.
We've made that as prominent as possible.
Right.
They can call us. They can go on the web, and there's lots of options for them.
Yeah.
And we also include the municipal contact because it is a municipal program.
Yeah. Is the consortium concept of combined purchasing power ahead of schedule?
Well, I would say we're all very anxious to move to the next level all the time. So in our office, we're not there yet. We want to go deeper and deeper into this and leverage this platform to really take the whole county green. But I think that we could be really happy with the progress to date. Of all the municipalities in the Con Ed zone, we had 4 that were not in the green program as a default in the last contract. They all moved over except for 1 now, and we have the additional communities. So we're growing, and we're building our capacities as we go, and a lot of ancillary programs are being supported by it now.
Yeah, and your spokesperson at the Common Council meeting last week did say that you can add more towns over the next 2 years without any problem.
That's right, and that's happening. Just the past couple of nights, the city of Rye passed their enabling law, which lets them participate in the program, and though there's still some steps yet before they can do so, they're on their way. We're deep in discussions with Peekskill, Dobbs Ferry. Everyone's shocked that they're not in yet, and they're working on coming in. So we expect to have most of the county come in over the next couple of years.
What is the potential for putting together community collectives across the state?
Well, that's happening now.
It is.
Yeah, there's probably not many places in the state where there's not a group that's trying to organize this. We had an advantage here in Westchester. We kind of have a sweet spot of just enough density to, bring the resources together to organize this thing and generate enough activity to support a small office. So these kind of more rural counties where they have to bring together a larger, more dispersed group are having more of a challenge. But they're all working on it, and we expect to see some of them launch their RFPs within the next couple of months.
Now, this does not seem like a win for the power companies. If they're selling the same amount of electricity and getting less money for it, is there pushback from them? Are they trying to derail this?
So I think it's good to distinguish what we mean by power companies because of the players out there that comprise the power industry. You've got the generators, and then you've got the utility, and this is a separate group. The generating function was removed from the utilities, from Con Ed, from NYSEG, 15, 20 years ago. So as far as the generators are concerned, yeah, maybe there's a little bit ratcheting down of their pricing, and there might be something to that, I don't know. Although perhaps in the future there's an opportunity for long-term contracts that give them stability. That would be a benefit. On the utility side, in theory, they don't have any reason to push back, but neither do they have any good reason to sort of support. Now, there is one factor in there, though, that we think about sometimes, and that is the distribution side of things, that there is a kind of a sunk cost in the physical infrastructure. And if we actually do some of the things that we need to do around efficiency, where we're reducing the amount of electricity we use,
yes.
now you're spreading that sunk cost over a smaller number of kilowatt hours. It's almost like the issue, if you think about it, the gasoline tax, right? As we go to electric cars and less gasoline used, now the dollars that have to support the road infrastructure, where do those come from? They have to be spread on somewhere. So it's a complicated question, but we don't really have a lot of pushback on this from industry players. I'll say they've been supportive.
Yeah. Why did the suppliers lower their cost from your original estimate of 8.2 cents per kilowatt hour, now down to 7.96?
Well, again, the 8.2 was a target.
Yeah.
We had indicative pricing. You know, we can just ask what the market is at a given time. They told us we were going to be okay, and again, that was a trailing utility average that we said, you know, if it goes above that, we're not accepting any bids. The bids had to come under that to be compliant.
So actually, we did conserve electricity in the summer of 18, didn't we? We had to.
Well, I couldn't give you numbers on that.
Yeah. The consumers did.
Yeah, I think there's been a general trend towards that, though. There's definitely been a higher efficiency in our usage of electricity as a trend.
Now, apropos to that, again, your spokesperson said during the Common Council meeting that Sustainable Westchester and Westchester Power believes that taking Indian Point off the grid will not constrict Westchester electrical supply. Why?
Because we've already seen that that happen. They've come offline. We're able to supply, and the way the electric power works as a physical thing, if you can supply instantaneously, you can supply. It has to be kept charged and powered up constantly. So we are able to do that. So I think the issue is not so much, you know, will we go dark? Will there not be supply? But you know, what will the markets do when a player is taken out? And we don't know that answer exactly.
So you think we're going to be okay if the markets don't make a what they call a profit-taking opportunity.
Well, there's no doubt that there are people who are in this market who expect to make a profit, and that's understandable. And it's our job at Westchester Power to try to leverage our buying power to protect our residents from any spikes that might occur. So, you know, what's going to be interesting is when this next contract ends, we'll be butting up against
between
the
2020.
shutdown. So this is something we're thinking about. And for example, is there a chance to go out for a longer-term contract that sort of bridges over that period and smooths it out for us?
Wouldn't that be nice to have the same electric rate for 3 straight years?
So we're actually, one of the great advantages, again, of this big consortium is that we attract the attention of a lot of interested entities, and we are talking to different people about other formats that we might use in the future, which could include longer-term contracts, direct purchasing relationships with generators, and perhaps we can come up with a way that helps us get through that.
Now, do cities save any money on their budgeting?
No, again, this is happening on the residents' side of the ledger. Yeah, it's on their electric bills.
Government doing something for the people. What a concept.
Yes,
What a concept.
Well, I think they found that it's well received, and hopefully there'll be a beneficial spiral there where they see that their constituents are happy with programs such as this, and then we leverage that to do more good work.
Yeah. So right now, I want to remind everybody we're talking with Dan Welsh, the program director for Westchester Power, and this is because the Westchester Power has put out their new green energy rate, 7.96 cents per kilowatt hour and 7.71 cents for persons not opting for the green rate, and a letter is coming out saying, and we want to get that across to people that you should expect that.
And I'd point out, though, also that the commercial rate, so a small portion of our customers are what we call small commercial. So these are mom and pop shops, about the same scale as your residential people. They don't have big demand meters, but they're a part of the consortium as well. Their price is actually coming down from almost 10 cents in the current contract to this same 7.96 cents. So they're going to save 20% on their bills starting in January. So that's a really exciting thing.
Right, and they should wait for that letter. They will get the letter too.
Yes, so that's going out in the middle of the month.
That sounds like a tremendous saving, particularly for the bars and restaurants in White Plains.
And That's right. At the same time, they're buying green power, and they're helping with that part of our mission.
Yeah. Is the consortium strategy fostering competition among electric suppliers and green sources of power at the same time?
Yeah, I think so. It's the reason that this type of venture was allowed under the state law was because there wasn't enough pickup in the private supplier market. In the 20 years that the market was opened, we still didn't get more than 15 or 20% of people participating in the private generation and private supplier market. With this now, we have over a third of Westchester County involved in that market, so and yet expanding. So
aware of it and participating in it just because they think it's a good thing to do.
Sure, sure.
And what is good about it, mostly for the consumer, I want to add, is that you stabilize your electric power cost for 2 years.
Right.
Not going to go up.
Right. So this 7.96 cents, remember, being under the current rate means it's under the utility rates for 2015, because the current rate was set based on the trailing rate back in 2016. So we're locking in a rate that allows our residents to enjoy rates that have not budged since 2015 through this process.
Do you see more savings in the future through consolidated buys, or are we bottoming out?
You know, we always want to caution against, exuberant optimism, I think. We believe we'll continue to be able to see some savings, but the market is the market. You know, there's not going to be some special way to other than some of these other opportunities that I just spoke of, maybe to actually change the format where we're doing some direct purchasing. So we don't know yet. We're still in exploration of that, but we expect to see savings. So.
Yeah. Now you're concentrating on hydropower for the consortium's green source of power with this new rate. Does that mean hydro is less expensive to build and has more appeal than wind or solar power for that reason?
Our hydropower is based on the existing facilities in New York State, and those facilities were not included in the state subsidy program for new renewables. So they were kind of orphaned and in danger of having economics that weren't working for them. So the renewable energy certificates that they throw off that we were able to purchase come in at a lower price, but they do support a very important part of the renewable energy infrastructure in New York State. So they happen to be the most economic option for us in terms of buying renewable power in this round, and who knows what may be the case in the next round.
Is this less expensive to create a hydro plant or more?
As a capital investment, I would say if you're going to do it today, I wouldn't be surprised if wind wasn't coming in cheaper. But as I say, these are existing facilities.
What is the situation with wind? I mean, Governor Cuomo wants to build wind towers out off Fire Island, and is there a chance for this? Where is that at, in your opinion?
Yeah, I'm not completely intimate with all the politics of that project, but I think there's a lot of momentum to make that happen. And there's one of the drivers is down in the metro area in terms of transmission congestion. So you either have to do that, find some power locally, or you have to bring it in from outside, which means transmission lines from the north of the state and things like that. So weighing the sort of the capital costs on either side, you may find that this goes forward. And of course, there's a great environmental benefit, even if it's not without its controversies.
Well, there is the possibility of putting wind towers on top of mountains in New York, because they've already done that up just off the Albany border at Jiminy Peak.
Right.
And the windmills are there. Admittedly, they catch your eye when you see the mountain.
Right.
But they are supplying a lot of power for the resort there, and So the question is aesthetics. Like, you could have the Palm Springs situation, which has so many windmills in the Valley of Wind there that it just, I mean, it doesn't even look like a resort anymore.
There's no doubt that aesthetics is a big part of the debate on placing these. That goes for solar too. And in fact, here in Westchester, we continue to try and increase the local generation here in Westchester. But of course, it's challenging. We don't have big open fields or mountaintops to put this on. So you're talking about rooftops. And in that, in trying to move that along, we're holding a conference on the 20. It's coming up very shortly. I should have the date in mind, but we're bringing together municipal officials, NYSERDA officials, and those in our towns who have started to work on their municipal codes to help support and facilitate these things, because a lot of us have not seen a big solar facility of that scale, and our local laws and codes don't have any way to deal with it. So we're going to help them to share best practices so that everybody's ready for the larger facilities that might come online.
Well, what do they know about solar anyway? You
know, well, that's right.
That's the problem.
I mean, because we don't have a lot of it around here other than the small-scale rooftop solar.
So the rooftop facilities that the White Plains had suggested when they joined the program, that is not going anywhere at the present time.
It's gone a lot slower than we'd like to see. And there's
all
a lot
across
of factors.
The various cities. Right?
Yeah, and part of it has been the uncertainty around the compensation that's available through the rate structures, and all that is settling out now, and additional supports through that are going to be available. So I think we're going to see a lot of activity in 2019 as those things are clarified, because investors need to know what they're going to get for making these investments.
Yes. Do you feel the green power effort is not going to be constricted by the rather turn back the clock attitude of Washington?
I think, I don't think that's going to have a big effect on New York State.
No.
I think the New York State energy program is pretty robust. It's looked at as one of the most progressive in the nation, and there are certain things. For example, the investment tax credit that's available to investors in these larger solar facilities, and that's a federal element which is due to phase out over the next few years. That could have an impact on the economics, but New York State is very determined to keep driving this forward. So I have confidence that the environment will remain very positive for those investments.
Certainly, it's another achievement of Andrew Cuomo that he's at least pushed this forward and not ignored it. Now, an off-the-wall question. Your program seems to say that communities, by pooling electric purchasing power, can save on the cost of electricity for their community residents. Now, it would seem to me to restore electricity during storms in a timely manner, the utilities could do the same thing on a much larger scale, with perhaps the cost of the various areas being played off as it is in your program. What do you think about that concept?
Taking a collective approach to trying to improve on our reliability of our grid and maintenance.
When nasty things happen, like
well,
Category 3s.
We're asked. We're asked on a regular basis, if we have any way to apply ourselves to that as a collective. And it is a kind of a separate thing, that the distribution and the transmission, and we really have no leverage over that. Whether or not, an equivalent organization or leverage could be found in that area.
Communities across the state pool a portion of their budgets to help fund this. The state government does it too, and then you have a New York State force ready to go anywhere.
Commitment. You need that commitment to be able to spend it.
And nobody seems to want to do that because the utilities say it's way too expensive. But I mean, I'm sorry.
So where
gotta do it.
a group like ours may be helping as we go forward is is in the promotion of these distributed energy resources. So as we get, batteries and local energy supply on the grid, you have the ability to island and bring some resiliency. So for example, one of my colleagues is working on a project with a local school district, which will include batteries as part of the solar unit. And when that goes down, they will have additional resiliency to keep.
So they can get if they can get to school, they can go to it then.
That's right.
That's right. Even if the power is out.
Yeah.
Well, that is a news-making concept because, gee.
So that's one way that we can help, but we can't actually fix the wires. That's something.
There's nothing we cannot achieve if we don't work together. That's an old quote from a politician of the past, but he was right.
I think so.
Right. Now, let's see. We have about a minute and a half to go, and we want you to once again explain what they can expect to lock in this green rate, and also the emphasis is that they are locking in the rates for 2 years.
Right. As we said, this new rate essentially puts us at a level which is less than the utility rates for 2015. So it's very attractive. In terms of what the residents actually have to do, in a sense, nothing. But we do hope you, when you get the letter, you'll read it so you know about your community energy program. And if you have a little bit of time, browse our website, come to the Sustainable Westchester website. We have many programs which are built around the periphery of this and interact with this. We have the electric vehicle program.
And the name of the website?
We've
The
got
URL?
sustainablewestchester.org, just like it sounds, and westchesterpower.org.
Right. And the important thing, that persons being on the green program now or the standard rate program, which still saves you money over 2 years, you just pollute more.
That's right.
But at any rate, this letter, they don't have to do anything if they want to stay in it.
Right, but they're welcome if they have anything that they don't understand about the program. We love the phone calls. Give us a call. Love to chat with you.
The number is?
It's 914-242-4725.
Okay. Well, Dan Welsh, you have been heard for Sustainable Westchester and Westchester Power. Thank you for coming on the program, and congratulations on the new rate. I thank you.
Yeah.
Right. John Bailey, good night for People to be Heard.